Awesome.
Is it showing that it's? There we go. Let's see. Right.
Does that update the website, Patrick? Do you know?
No, I gotta do that step too.
Ugh.
It's kind of a tedious thing, to be honest.
Oh,
I mean, it's not it's not difficult. It's just a
it's
lot
not
of
difficult.
steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, last week I found out about all that
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah. For lack of a better term. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we go. Let's see.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Jordan, do we have any people who we know are not going to be joining us this morning that have let you know?
No one has let me know, so that's a good thing. Let me double check. There's no declines on the calendar, so
Okay.
that's a good thing.
So I see we have all the commissioners here. Still lacking some folks who are signing on as we speak. Choya, are you aware of any of our core planning team members who were not planning on joining us this morning?
I am not. As far
Okay.
as I know, everyone will be here.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the commissioners? Do you want to get started? It's 1 minute after 12, or do you want to wait for another minute or two to see if we get some additional participants?
Who else are we expecting?
Let's see. We have 11 joined so far. Who are we missing?
Anthony, Miranda.
Do we have Brad in here?
No.
No, Brad. Okay. We have Ed. Jesse. Is Jesse in here?
No.
No. So that's 4.
I'm sorry. Jesse did let me know that he was out today and not able to make it. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Slipped my mind.
No worries. So 4. So 1 excuse. So 3 individuals who are still not here. I could send them an email just as a reminder.
I'll follow up with them.
Oh, okay.
Pat, I think you're on mute.
I've been having a wonderful conversation with myself here. So, Jordan, can you pop up the agenda? I'm having a hard time finding it.
Yes, sir.
Stuff.
I got it right here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Bam.
Yeah, so I can go ahead and call order and Scott can call roll and we can do consideration and approval of the agenda while people are still gathering. So this is New Mexico Public Regulation Commission special open meeting. It's our 5th strategic planning session on Wednesday, September 27th. Mr. Cameron, could you call the roll?
Commissioner Aguilera? Present. Commissioner Ellison?
Present.
Commissioner O'Connell?
Present.
All the commissioners are here. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And then commissioners, we have an agenda to conduct our strategic planning session, if I had to summarize it. Do you have any suggested changes or modifications that we should make to this agenda?
No suggested changes.
None for me either.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, may I make one suggestion to the commissioners to consider as a change? I don't think it's material, but it's technically not present on the agenda. We were going to also look at some additional feedback that you received on mission, vision, and values from the staff review group, along with the goals and objectives that are on the agenda. So I think to be technically correct, you might want to mention also the discussion of mission, vision, and values.
that's a good point. I think that falls within the broad umbrella of strategic planning. So I don't think there's an issue with adding that to the agenda, but good point. For those watching, we're going to be, in addition to looking at goals and objectives, we're going to be looking at mission, vision, and values. So seeing no complaints, I say let's proceed with that agenda. And then at this point, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Bennett, or Jordan, or Choya, if there's any announcements or introductions we need to make.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to proceed with the planning part of the session. I don't know if the Chief of Staff has any comments or anything she wanted to say before I get going.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Mark. The only thing that I will say is we're in exciting times here as we're coming to crystallizing these ideas. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, do we need to approve the agenda?
My reading of Robert's rules, 3-member commission, if nobody dissents, then we can just approve things by acclaim. So if you're uncomfortable with that, call the roll.
Well, I was waiting for a motion to approve it, I think.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is there isn't a motion because there wasn't any argument over the agenda. So we're just moving forward.
Let's just go with it then.
Yeah. It's similar to the motion to adjourn at the end of our meetings.
All right, then I will lead you into the discussion, and we've got a good representation of the core planning team members, I think, with us now. So if I'd like to share the screen, Jordan, so if you could take the
Yes.
agenda off the screen.
You got it.
Okay. All right. So I just want to set the context for what's going to happen today with the ultimate approval of the plan at the end of this process. And what we're going to do today is receive some final rounds of feedback from everybody on this call. And that's going to cover all the elements of the framework, which we've broken into two baskets. The first basket are the foundational parts of your strategic plan, which are your mission statement, your statement of values and guiding principles, and your vision statement. And then the second basket are the lifting, working, driving elements of the plan, which are your goals and objectives, ultimately to be accompanied by an action plan. But right now we're looking at the goals and objectives, and also whether there are any meaningful indicators that you can track that will show you whether you're making the kind of progress that you want with the plan. So this feedback that we're going to harvest today from all of you will be very familiar because we've been through a round before, but now you have some feedback from a staff review group that looked at all these elements, and you've received the notes from their work. So the other thing is that there was a group of 4 from this group that revised and refined the strategic goals and objectives after your last collective meeting. So in that sense, those goals and objectives have been freshened up a bit by some of your members who really took the feedback from the meeting and tried to integrate it into an improved draft. And then it's been reviewed by staff who have offered their comments. So our job today, your job today, is to really take all that into consideration and take a final hard look at the mission, vision, and values and the goals and objectives with success indicators, and see if there are any additional changes that you feel are merited. And it's not speak now or forever hold your peace, but we're getting really close. So any changes today that you think are important to improve the document are welcome, and please offer them in your small groups. And then we're going to, after this meeting, I'm going to recommend to you that either the existing drafting team that did the previous work, or it could be some change in drafting team membership, that they take the feedback from today and turn it into a true final draft. So that would happen within a week or so after this meeting. And during that time, I would also begin to work with the chief of staff to prepare some other supporting documents that really document the work that you've done and explain the plan and the process. And I would also be mocking up a one-page blueprint like you saw from the Michigan PUC that really gives you at a glance the key elements of the plan on one page. Parallel with that, the chief of staff would, if the commissioners continue to be agreeable with it, she would convene 4 implementation teams that would track with each of the 4 strategic goals that are being proposed, including the wording changes or edits that you would make today. And those implementation teams would begin to convene and really think about how they're meaningfully going to put the goals and objectives that have been drafted into action, thinking about timelines and who would be responsible for certain kinds of work. So all of that would be kicked off by the work that we're doing today, and all those streams of work would go along in parallel, so that on the 10th of October, which is right after the Columbus Day holiday, all the core team members would receive a final proposed draft of mission, vision, values, goals, objectives, and success indicators. And there then would be one final opportunity, hopefully for only things that were really editorial in nature, not substantive. But if you see anything in that final draft that needs to be corrected or is a concern, there'd be one final chance online for core team members to weigh in and say, here's something that I think needs to be addressed. Then we would be looking for final documents to go out to the core team members before the 10/27 meeting that we propose to schedule. When I did my contract with you, I provided for up to 6 meetings, and this is our 5th meeting. So I think to have an orderly and full and considered approval, we're going to need one more meeting with these timelines that I'm proposing. And the chief of staff has found a meeting time that could work on the calendar for the 27th of October. So if this is agreeable, we would have final documents that would come out about 3 days before that meeting. And then there would be a final meeting for the core team to officially recommend the formal approval of the strategic plan. And then you would have an option as a commission, whether you would want to also consider your formal vote at a meeting after you receive the full approval of the team, or you may choose to schedule it at a subsequent meeting. If you want to think about posting documents online or communicating to staff in some way about what's before the commission for final approval. So that's a path that I think is very considered and doable for an orderly completion of your work. And I hope that puts today in context and you can see where we're going to be going with the work that we're doing today. Anybody have any comments or questions for me about what I've laid out here? Because you're hearing this and there's some additional elements in there that we haven't talked about. All right, so we'll have time at the end of the meeting to come back to this because I know you're listening to me and considering this now. So what I'd propose now is we move into the small group work that will give us the final round of feedback that we need to essentially fuel this progression towards a document that you feel is complete and really does what you need it to for the PRC's future. So Jordan, we have enough for 3 groups as we have in the past. So if you could configure those groups for the first discussion, and if you could also put the documents in the chat that they're going to be using. And I'd like you, if you could, to screen share the one which is on mission, vision, and values.
Okay, so documents have been uploaded. Let me go ahead and share. The groups have already automatically been sorted out as well. Let me just go ahead and share the document you are referring to. There we go. Okay.
Okay, so I sent out to you, or Jordan sent out to you, the notes from the staff review group meeting. And I thought that this document might make it easier for you to really review those notes. What I'd like each small group to do to use this worksheet to track your proposed changes or comments on these existing drafts of mission, vision, and values. This you'll see in each section is the current version. This is what the staff saw and what they commented on. And underneath that, so Jordan, could you scroll down just a little bit? That's far enough. So underneath that, these were their comments from the notes that you received, but I put them right there next to the version of the mission that they commented on. And if you'd scroll back up for a moment, what I'd ask you to do, I think that will help us visually work with this document when we come back to the large group, is if you want to put any new language in the vision statement, if you would highlight that in yellow where you insert it, but you would insert whatever you want to change right in the mission statement. And you'll note in the staff review groups, almost everybody liked option 1. Nobody was really arguing for option 2. Everybody said we think option 1's the better of these 2 options. And if you want to take out any language, if you could use strikeout, just to draw a line through it. And if you have something that doesn't really fit into striking out language or additional new language, if you would highlight that in blue, and you could put that anywhere you want, but perhaps at the end of the mission statement. So there's a section of the document for the mission. And then if you go down, there's a section for vision. And then there with the staff comments below that. And if you go down to the values, the next page, there's a section for the values with their comments at the end. And there is some coding in here for some highlights that were already put in the document. You could just leave those where they are, and just whatever you add, if you would similarly code it, then I think that'll help us look at the reports from the groups at the end and see how close we are to a final draft of these 3 elements. So that's your first assignment. Yeah, is what I'm asking of you clear? Okay. I'll rotate through the groups if you do have any questions for me. You're going to have 30 minutes to take this. I think this is really pretty much of a final scrub on the mission, vision, and values, because you've been over these a couple of times. But I think you do want to honor the feedback from the staff and at least consider what their thoughts were as they looked at these documents for the first time. So we'll come back here in 30 minutes, and then I think we have pretty tight and brief reports because we want to spend most of our meeting on the goals and objectives. So, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back over to you to set a time frame for us to go into the small group breakouts.
Thanks. So we're gonna go into small group breakouts and then we'll reconvene in 30 minutes. So by my clock, it's 9:20 right now. So I'm at 9:50, 10 till 10 Mountain Time.
Okay, Jordan. So Jordan, the documents went up in the chat.
That is
They're up
correct.
there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
I'll make
It's,
sure to broadcast. Let me see if I could. I can't. Yeah, they should all have it. Let me send it through email as well. Let me send them
Okay.
that email just so they could have it on there as well, just in case.
All right.
Just
Great.
in case.
Thank you.
No problem.
Was I talking very fast?
No, I
Okay.
I understood everything you said. I think it was
Okay.
yeah. There was. I don't think there was a problem.
Okay. I just feel like I can feel a little positive anxiety that I want to make sure we get through everything we need to in this meeting. So I was kind of like, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Okay. All right. So when you put this recess up, we're no longer on the YouTube channel, right?
That's correct. They could
Okay.
hear us, but our faces are no longer on the.
Okay.
Actually, our faces are in the top little square on YouTube.
Okay. There you go. All right. So I'm gonna go rotate through the groups,
You
which
got
I
it. And
assume I can do.
I'll be sending the email here shortly. I'm just waiting. I'm just looking for the whole group right now.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. I'll be sending a 5-minute notification in 1 minute, Mark.
So Jordan, you're going to be sending out a warning in just a moment.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
All right, 5-minute warning has gone out.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna bring them back now.
Okay.
All right, and it seems like they are all back.
All right, everybody, welcome back. So let's we'll go by number of the group. So if whoever has got a screen share for group number 1 could put your feedback from this latest round up on the screen, and then just talk us through what your group thought individually, collectively.
Yeah, I think that was our group, Joya.
Oh, all right. Let me share our notes then. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, then I will go up to the top. So we appreciated the feedback that option 1 was the way to go. We also we thought the feedback of replacing the word state with New Mexico was a worthwhile suggestion, so we did, but that would have created too many New Mexicos in a single sentence. So we did some editing, and that was pretty much our entire feedback here.
Okay. So you stuck with two New Mexico references by the working assumption that everybody knows that you're talking about New Mexico, and so you are the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission. Okay.
And then one of the reasons we felt okay doing that is just there are very few utility commissions in the country that are the Public Regulation Commission. So I'm not going to say we're unique in what we call ourselves, but there aren't very many of us.
Okay. So is what we see there pretty much a consensus of your group? Everybody was comfortable with this approach on option 1?
That's my understanding.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's hear from group 2. You can unscreen share. Oh no, that's right. Let's go through all of yours at once, and then it'll be a little more efficient. Go ahead to Vision.
Okay. So Vision, once again, using New Mexico to describe the state rather than the state, taking out New Mexico. We discussed several things here. First of all, the carbon-free nature of things to make it more align with the statutes and the actual goals of both the executive order and the statute. So we, instead of carbon-free, we went environmental goals. That's how we rephrased that. We took the advice of the review group and made some edits down here so that it was less utility heavy and more kind of broadly applicable to the pipeline safety group and to consideration of consumers' public interest as a broad sense. And then just the comment that we like this highlighted portion, so we wanted to leave that in.
Okay. And what did you do with the values?
So we liked integrity, openness, and inclusivity, and really didn't have much edits to those. We did make this last bullet broader so that it's not just offering and receiving advice, but just we constantly seek to improve our work, period. So it's nice and broad. The feedback, I want to say unanimous, but my group is free to speak up if they disagree, was that the public service bullet points didn't hit the mark. And so we, especially because ensuring safe and reliable service at fair, just, and reasonable rates reflects more of a mission. And so we really felt very strongly that public service is about improving New Mexico and using this opportunity transition in the PRC to kind of change the status quo. So there are some comments here that reflect how we saw that.
So then in the public service value, you would have two pretty short declarative sentences. We serve the public interest by working to improve New Mexico, period. And then we are good stewards of the public trust, period. Is that?
That's correct. That's
Great.
what we came up with.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you for that summary, and those notes are clear in the working document. So group number 2.
Who is group number 2?
That would be you, Commissioner.
Oh,
Commissioner
great.
Ellison.
Great. How about it? How about it,
I got
Scott?
it. I got it. I got you covered. Can you guys see that? Is my screen shared?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. If Choya's group was all about clarity, we're going to be on the opposite end and really just kind of muddle it all up a little bit. I sort of joke when I say that. So we dove right in on the mission with suggesting a couple of possible changes. We bracketed, you can see them in brackets in blue there. There were some questions right off the bat from a couple of our group members who haven't been around for a while and decided they should get in here and start making up for lost time, which is always appreciated, about social principles. And we suggested maybe that would be better to say public policies. And then we put in consistent with the public interest. That was one of the comments from down below from a staff review group. And then on 2, so we didn't choose one or the other. We kind of made changes to both. And then, you know, I guess if you left it up to just our.
You, Scott, we lost your audio there.
Can you hear me? No?
No, yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, I see my connection is unstable. Let me see if I can turn off my video and maybe that will help.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. So we didn't choose 1 or 2. We made changes to both. And as you can see in the second option for the mission, we changed New Mexicans to the public interest. Again, I guess kind of getting at what Choya was mentioning about using the term New Mexico and New Mexicans over and over again. And also there were comments about public interest. And then going to the vision, there was some question about kind of the concept of this. And I tried, and I'm sure did a terrible job of trying to fill in for Mark on what the vision was all about, which is like this aspirational, like this is where we're headed. And so we put in brackets there, you know, the following is what we aspire to achieve in 5 years. And then again, in that first one, instead of is, the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission will be nationally recognized. But again, there was some discussion about how this should be phrased. So Mark, I don't know if you want to jump in there for a second and add some better context to that than I tried to.
Well, there are 2 things about visions. One is sometimes they're very distant. They're, you know, peace on earth, peace in the Middle East, you know, a balanced, healthy climate for everyone in the world. They're very broad and big, and organizations can have their own version of that broader, bigger vision. And then there are horizon visions where really pretty much what are we going to look like in 3 years or 5 years? And this is a bit of a mixture because, you know, I think the idea that that you will really stand out in, you know, in the national landscape has both nearer term possibilities and also it's a stretch, you know, over a period of time. And you can use either present language or future tense. We will be or we are.
Mhm.
Both of those are common in vision statements. And it's kind of a stylistic preference, but you're trying to really affirm that you want this to be real. And that's what the vision is. This is who we are. We have become this. So those are my general comments.
Okay.
And did you all address the question of using the clean energy economy language or the carbon resources? Did you stick with one or the other on that?
No, we did not. I mean, we talked about it briefly, and then somebody looked at the time and realized that we were running out of time. So we were trying to
Okay,
move.
got
Yeah.
it.
So
Okay,
I did like Group One's suggestion on how to fix that up. So
okay,
me personally.
right.
And then down below here in the blue in these 3 bullets, there was some conversation about Anthony brought up, I can't remember the exact terminology now, Anthony, and it was, to be honest, sort of a new concept to me, but if you want to jump in. Go ahead.
The notion that public utility commissions are subject to regulatory capture.
Regulatory capture, that was it. Yeah. So we added in here, and there was a question about fairness and reasonableness, which people thought was a mouthful. So we thought we'd go with a bigger mouthful, which was fairness, objectivity, and independence
Okay.
in all decisions. And then moving down to the values principles, we went with at instead of and, public instead of the by the public. And then again, to get to that regulatory capture issue, we added a little to this, base each decision on its merits, applying independent judgment to the issues before us. And then we thought transparency was good where it was under integrity, so we crossed out that comment too.
Okay.
I think
Thank
that's it.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. And group number 3, I guess that's Commissioner Aguilera's group.
Yes, 1 second. Okay, can everyone see okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we were also a little bit constrained with time. We focused on the first option for mission. That was our group's preference. And we had a question about whether we need the word utility before the word services here. And then, that just kind of gets us into how pipeline safety or transportation would fit in there if we did want to include utility. So it's just a question of, specificity, I think. And for the most part, we decided to leave option 1 alone, and we thought it was well worded. And then going on to vision, we struck out the idea of clean energy economy because didn't think that the Public Regulation Commission is responsible for, making sure that the whole statewide economy is run on clean energy, and what does clean energy mean. We also elevated or brought back our culture of excellence. We reinserted that for national recognition. And we changed innovative and forward-looking policies. We just included innovation as another term there. And we had a little bit of debate over if we wanted to keep innovative or if we wanted to keep innovation. And we didn't come down on one side or the other there, but it was noted that we do have some innovative policies, including interconnection and the way that we've been helping roll out community solar. And then we addressed some of the staff comments on fairness and reasonableness down here in these bullets. Being sort of a mouthful, we tried to streamline that and say fair and reasonable decisions affecting the cost of utility services. So it would read, commission and staff, it's our highest purpose to promote, and then just say fair and reasonable decisions instead of fairness and reasonableness in decisions. I had a question about the word benefits, if there's something that might provide a little more clarity. Excuse me 1 second. There was one more note that I had for this, but I don't remember exactly. And then we were running very short on time, so we didn't get to many edits of the values and principles section.
Okay. Thank you, Colin. So at the end of the meeting, we're going to come back and we may talk a little bit more about this, but my recommendation to you from working with a lot of document drafting in larger groups of 12 to 15 is usually you take a discussion like this and then you convene or convoke some key people, who have the confidence of the group to go away and see what they can come up with to integrate and then come up with the final proposal back to the group. And that could include two options in some areas. So, we came up with option A and option B, and then the group could essentially have some kind of a vote about, which is the most preferred option. But there could be a final set of edits leading to that consideration. So we're going to talk about that at the end of the meeting. If the people that did the drafting on the goals and objectives might serve that role, or you might want to constitute a different membership for people to take the mission, vision, and values and take a final cut at coming back to the group with something online that they could take a final look at. So with that, we're going to move on to the next segment of our substantive work, which is to come to the goals, objectives, and success indicators. And we have in the chat a document that, Jordan, if you'll open in the screen share, we'll just take a look at together. But I did pretty much the same thing that I did with the mission, vision, and values, which is put the staff review comments right next to the current version of the goals and objectives. So you see the current version there and it's marked, and then the success indicators. This is also in a current version that came out of the drafting group. It's work after the last meeting. And then if you scroll down, then you'll begin to see the comments for goal number 1 there. And there were 2 small groups in the staff review meeting, so that's why I just kept the comments grouped by each small group. And then if you go down then to find a new page, there's goal number 2 in its current version with the success indicators in their current version, followed by the staff comments from the 2 groups. And then you'll see goal number 3, etc. Yeah, you can just scroll down so they can see everything that's there. And then goal number 4 with the staff comments. So this is, I think there's more here that you need to go through. So I'm going to suggest that you take an hour and 15 minutes to work in your small groups. And I asked Jordan to configure the groups so that there would be, in addition to, we have 1 commissioner in each group, there would be 1 member of the drafting team that created this most recent version that you see. And just to remind you, that was Arthur, Colin, Scott, and Choya. So Jordan, if you just make sure at least 1 of those people is in each group. And that's so if any of the other members of the core team have any questions about some of the language in the current version, because there were some changes that the drafting team made to try and reorganize and refine what was there. That perhaps that individual in your small groups can give you a little more context about how the group got to the version that you're working with. And again, you have an hour and 15 minutes. And if you'd use the same system to code in any changes, strike out yellow changes in language or blue comments or additional thoughts, I think that'll expedite our continued review. And then after we come back, well, I was going to say that the commissioner, I'd like to stack a 10-minute break on the end of the 75 minutes so that we would be in recess until 85 minutes from now. You can see my math skills are not up to telling you exactly what time that is, but I know there are others on this call who've got that figured out. So that's my proposal, that we would come back after you had that 10-minute break at the end of the 75 minutes.
Yeah, so doesn't get you exactly the 85 minutes, but I'd say we'll reconvene at 11:30 local time, and then that's a big enough time that groups you can self-manage your break within that. So when we come back at 11:30, let's come back for the half hour we have left.
I thought we were, oh, that's right. We're here till noon. That's right. 9 to 12. Okay, great.
Alrighty, I'm going to open up the groups now. Mark, I'll be giving a 2 minute notice or a 5 minute notice in 1 minute.
Did you send the notice, Jordan?
Yes, I have.
Great.
Yep. Mark, will they be coming back and then taking a 10-minute break? Or did we
No.
already put that in?
We put that in.
Awesome.
Yeah, they'll be coming back. They will have already had their break. Some of them took it right away as soon as they broke out.
Oh, I
Uh,
see. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
they just fit in the break time sometime during their 85 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. Minimize that. All right. I'm gonna bring them back.
Okay. Okay, welcome back, everybody. And so what we need is about a 5-minute report from each group, and that'll give us 15 minutes to talk about what's going to happen next and come back to that little path forward that I put up at the beginning of the meeting. So why don't we reverse the order of the groups this time, and we'll start with group number 3, which would be Commissioner Aguilera's group.
Okay, so for our group, there was a question about the word choice on goal 1, unified mission, and if that could be massaged a little bit, but we didn't have any specific suggestions. We were sensitive to the cost-effective language from the staff review group, thinking that it might make us look like we're considering cost too much, but we also didn't want to ignore the reality that all agencies do work within a budget. We did a little wordsmithing here, and then we tried to create some different verbs so that we didn't have 4 straight uses of improve under improved communications with the agency. We took out as a whole in response to the staff review group. Oh, there was a question about exploring increased use of hybrid hearings, and I think there was some discussion about this earlier, but that might mean, instead of just going all electronic or all in person, just not losing the physical information that you get from an in-person hearing or an in-person meeting. For goal 2, optimize internal operations and processes. We took these specific technology improvements and put them under successful implementation of new technology indicators. And then we promoted the second bullet to the top bullet. And then we did have some discussion about how recommendations are disseminated to commissioners and whether we can improve on board effect with enhanced features like the ability to comment and download all the documents that you want in a batch without having to click each one individually. We thought about combining streamlining processing of cases with managing time and priorities. It didn't come down one way or the other on if it should have its own section. Took out some extraneous language here. Just creating and tracking timeline targets we don't need for different types of matters, even though we understand that speaks to categories of projects. For goal number 3, we had some discussion about the creation of innovative ways for the commission to enforce or implement the ETA. We had some questions about the word choice shepherd and whether or not innovation goes against our statutory authority. Then we also thought that if a policy is sound, that means it is implementable. So we scratched implementable there. On under demystifying regulatory process, there was a really good idea that came out of our group, which is put a statement in a conspicuous place on our website that explains the agency's interpretation of what the public interest is. We thought that attorneys and the commissioners could work together on this, but the overall, just so that everyone's on the same page about what the public interest is, and they all use the same lens to see that phrase. And then under success indicators for jargon-free communications from the commission, there was a suggestion from Choya earlier on, I think, maybe it was from Choya, I'm not positive, but you can use AI tools to assess how legible something is and how understandable it is, and just maybe incorporating that into our website somehow. I think that's it. Oh, you're muted, Mark.
Group number 2.
Coming at you. I think. Screen shared?
Yes.
Yes, we see it.
Check. All right, video stopped. Check. Hopefully my internet connection holds up here. I apologize if you hear some noise. They're working on my roof, like literally right above me. Hopefully nobody comes through the ceiling. If they do, I'll turn the video back on. It'll be fun. Let's see. So on goal 1, we kind of went back and forth with trying to look at the comments. I mean, Mark was privy to this at one point, and also look at the bigger picture, but then stay out of the weeds. We were jumping around quite a bit, but we also talked about the hybrid hearings thing, and talked about the logistics of that, and how, in order to move more firmly in that direction, we need the right space, better tech setup, and that kind of led into a discussion of when we're heading into the new building, that's something to definitely, have get done as we're headed there. And Anthony also shared that at this point, for smaller hearings, smaller matters, his folks have the capability and the go ahead to do things hybrid if they want to. So that's something that's being worked on as we speak. We took the recommendation to take out as a whole here, and just leave it at reputation. I think that's as far as we got on that one in terms of making changes. On goal 2, we talked about adding in something along the lines of building in enough time for the commission to make a considered determination in each matter. We moved strengthen workflow processes that respect employees' time under this bigger bullet of managing time and priorities. We took the suggestion from the review group of adding in here while maintaining efficient use of existing, we added the word useful technology, because we'd hate to see any kind of backsliding of like, oh, well, we don't need that new stuff because we're maintaining the efficient use of what we already have. And then in answer to this question under number 4 about what indicators, we kind of added that into the consideration of workflow processes that respect employees' time, and suggest some kind of a wellness survey or something. This was also in the comments below. And a wellness survey that indicates that employees report more respect for time. I know that's kind of amorphous right now, but less overloaded and overworked, something along those lines. Mark was helpful in bringing back to us where some of that came from, which was from some of those surveys that we had done early on. And then when those got combined and we had that document that listed things and had a little key code for how many times it had gotten mentioned, that was something that had come up quite a bit. And then on 3, we took the suggestion to shorten that first bullet and just say effectively implement. and we had a conversation, and then we kind of ran out of time. I think that was it, right? Yeah, that's where we ran out of time. We were talking about this part, collaborating with communities across New Mexico, and the conversation, to kind of encapsulate it, was what the way it's phrased doesn't have a lot of meaning, and we're not sure how that gets implemented. I did bring up, because I think I was part of putting this one in here, but it, part of this was about trying to have some sensitivity to lower income communities and how rates, really affect them, and trying to do something with that. So that's where we got. Like I said, I think we didn't even get to goal 4.
Thank you, Scott. And
welcome.
group number 1.
Help if I mute. Everyone can see my screen.
Yes.
Not too many edits for goal 1. Like the first group that spoke, we took out cost effective on. Actually, I don't remember if they took it out, but we took it out as per suggestion of a comment, not to be constrained by budget. For structured budget request 2, we added the sub-bullet of increase availability of necessary technological tools. Added to ensure that staff is able to do their work efficiently. I believe that was the only other change we made in goal 1. For goal 2, we took out the bullet of strengthen workflow processes that respect employees' time. We felt that was already identified in the bullet of manage time and priorities. And the only other change for this goal was under possible success indicators, where it says all divisions encourage feedback. We put in parenthetical, including the commissioner's office as well. For goal 3. Under the first bullet, we took out ETA and just left in decarbonization. Under the third bullet, we changed utilities to utility services. Added another bullet that we should collaborate with national and regional interests to leverage New Mexico's unique opportunities. So it's not just statewide. And also a last bullet, we provide clear guidance under areas of our jurisdiction. That, and we added to possible success indicators, number 4, increased staff exposure to the legislative process. And also, as another success indicator would be all 3 commissioners appointed to leadership positions at national organizations. But another thing on there, I think I left out was also without I would say, for lack of a better term, like neglecting responsibilities within our state as well. And for goal number 4, a sub bullet under improved consumer facing interfaces, we put it was already designed to implement media strategy to highlight PRC accomplishments, but we added a sub bullet of create an agency-wide engagement with the media strategy. And also we added under success indicators, clearly and timely explain impacts of orders, so that they are easily explained by most of the public. And that is it.
Thank you, Patrick. So what happened with the staff review group and what happened with your work today is a is a basic confirmation of the existing strategic structure that you've developed with this 4-goal structure. And my sense is that there's still some work to do with strengthening the framing of the objectives. So when possible, they're specific enough and they can be assessed or measured in some way. Not all objectives need to be measurable, but you're looking for that clarity about how will we know we can check that objective off and say we've accomplished it. And I see you making consistent progress here with the refinement of wording and the addition of some items, but you've not removed much. You've kind of put some things in different places to make more sense. So I think you're in a refinement stage. And what I want to talk to you about for a few minutes so that I can help bring you to this next proposed meeting date on the 27th of October. We looked for earlier dates, but there just wasn't anything that was going to really work for key people. So we needed to go out a month. But I do think there's a certain advantage that we can take, and I've tried to map out here how I think you can do that. And the first thing, if you look at the second bullet, is to decide which subset of this group is going to take this feedback from today on mission, vision, and values and the strategic objectives and incorporate it into a clean draft that really takes the different groups and really tries to make sense of everything that was done. And I need some feedback from you all, and I'm also particularly want to check in with the people who did the drafting on the strategic objective work that came to this meeting, and that was Choya, Scott, Arthur, and Colin. So are those the right people? I don't think you want a big group. You could have potentially 1 or 2 more people, but I don't, 4 to 6 is usually a good working size for a drafting group. And I think we need to be clear, if you want to follow my guidance, that we know who those people are before we leave the meeting today. Scott, does your thumb mean yes? Colin says yes. Oh, 2 thumbs. Okay. Gets enthusiasm points.
Are you looking for volunteers from us to reaffirm our willingness, or I was waiting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for either commissioners to say, I want so-and-so on that team. I don't have the time, or I want in those who were on it to say, I'm willing to do it again. If there's somebody who didn't do it the last time, but would like to be a part of it, I think we ought to find out who that is. And as I said, I don't think it needs to be an exclusive club, but we don't want too many people or it's going to be a little unwieldy to get the work done.
I'm happy to do it again, if that's the will of the group.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we're near the end, and the folks who've been doing it have clearly been doing a good job. So that's why I was hoping they'll want to stick with it.
Well, we have 3 of them said so. And Arthur, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine with doing that as well. Fits into my schedule. Yeah.
Great. All right. So we have the possibility of just rolling over with those 4 people, who, by the way, I witnessed them work well together. So I think you've put some trust in good people here. Is there anybody who would like to be a part of it as a 5th person who didn't do it the last round? Okay. So this schedule also includes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Just I don't necessarily want to or need to be a part of it, but I did have some just notes from when I was looking at this that I would like to send to the group. So, I'll
Great.
tell that to you all.
Please, Commissioner, do that. And certainly if anybody else has something like Commissioner Aguilera just said, please make sure those things come into this process because we want that inclusion of perspective. So thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up. Could you send those to Jordan, Commissioner? Because he's going to coordinate the logistics of the group meeting and he'll make sure that everybody on the team gets them.
I'll do that.
Great, thank you. Choya, do you want to say anything about your work to begin to overlap implementation considerations with the final drafting of these goals and objectives in terms of what you're thinking about for the implementation work?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. We will, by the end of the week, have implementation teams for the 4 goals. Those teams will work on, over the next several weeks, work on identifying the first year action items and matching the strategic goals, the subpoints, and the success indicators to how do we actually have the rubber meet the road and create action steps to achieve these in the next year. Those groups will be comprised of first people who are willing. We're not going to drag anybody who doesn't want to participate, of division directors, executive staff, and then anyone else who is identified and will contribute to that planning. So we're working on building those and we'll have those groups identified by the end of the week, and we'll dive in to start that process as soon as next week as well.
Okay. Any questions of Choya about how she's thinking about the bringing of this work down to the actionable and the accountable level? It'll help to see all this as a whole piece. It's sometimes hard to think abstractly about it, but one of the things that I think is really important is for the right people inside the organization to always have the big picture in mind, which are the pieces we've been working on. But the results always come from the details. You got to have the big picture, but if you don't have the details, it's just it's an elegant planning exercise. It doesn't deliver what you want. And as I think I explained at the beginning, a lot of strategic plans die on shelves and they don't live and breathe and produce progress and learning for the organization. So the other thing that's going to happen that will involve all of you is on the 10th, we're aiming for the 10th of October, that you would receive a proposed final draft of mission, vision, values, goals, objectives, and success indicators. And what I envision that is it's really important for the support of the plan, that if you see anything in this document that the group has come up with that you have problems with, you have concerns about, that there's one more loop that we want with everybody on this team to respond with any proposed final edits or questions or concerns that they have. And you would have about 5 or 6 working days to really read it over really carefully and not hold anything back that you really have a sincere concern about. Hopefully by this time, your sense of support for the plan will be pretty solid because it's been through all these successive discussions. And then once you have that, you would also be getting a couple of other documents that include probably a 5 to 7 page narrative that describes the whole planning process and what came out of the surveys and what the mission and vision and values are, and some reasoning about how you came to these results and what they mean. So that'll be part of the package that you'll see as well, will be a narrative explanation. And always, if you have any questions at any time that relate to me and my role, please let me know, because I'm still going to be completely actively involved in this and with the implementation teams through the final approval. And the commission should be thinking a little bit about, do you want to have a separate approval item on a meeting after the core team and everybody is together on it? And for example, I don't know, in terms of you making a final vote to officially accept and approve the plan, if you want to have shared the proposed plan with staff before you do that, or if you feel with a strategic plan there's any necessity or importance to putting something on your website. You're not really opening it up to public comment, but just in terms of how you do this work. I don't know if you have any thoughts like that, where you wouldn't necessarily want to take a vote on the 27th when you would have just been getting the final affirmation from the group, or you might. So you might give that some thought and then coordinate with your chief of staff and your legal counsel about how you want to do the formal voting once all this final drafting has happened.
One question, you mentioned the action plan. Where does that fit into this timeline?
The action plan will be, let's see, between the 2nd of October and the 13th of October, the action plans are going to be being prepared. And I didn't put it on there, but we can get you the final drafts of goals and objectives and mission and vision on the 10th. But I would say that the action plan should come to you to take a look at as soon as it's done. So that's part of the mix. So I could add an item here for the draft action plans to be sent along for your review on the 13th.
And the 4 implementation teams, are they looking at different aspects of the objectives?
Yeah, they're looking, each one is taking on one of the goals and the related objectives for that goal. So I think that was,
Okay.
Choi was thinking, was there might be particular people that would be stronger on the leadership in the regulatory arena piece as opposed to the operational, issues or the staff issues. And so I think, Choi, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you were hoping that you would have some people who might have particular perspective and strength in those areas to look at the practical.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Is that what you wanted to know, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay,
that
so
is.
I will add to this slide an item on the 13th that the draft action plans would be coming to all the members of the team to see. We're just a couple minutes shy of our appointed time. Commissioner, Mr. Chair, do you have any closing comments? Chief of Staff, any closing comments?
I didn't have any other than just thanks to all for the work you've been putting into this. I mean, it's really starting to show. And then all is bigger than the group that's on the call here today. Obviously, there's been a lot of teams involved in this outside of this group. So just wanted to say thanks to all and make sure you see yourself in that, even if you're not on this call.
I should have included the other commissioners as well. Commissioner Ellison, Commissioner Aguilera, any observations or closing comments?
For putting us on the spot here, Mr. Barnett.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Bennett, sorry. I think we'll all be glad to see the process come to a conclusion. And I think want to remain vigilant and just be sure that what finally gets decided is something that we're happy with, but certainly appreciate all the time everyone has been putting into this.
Yeah, and I'll just, thank you to everybody who's been working on this as well. There was one question I thought you raised, Mark, about whether we should, send the plan to all staff. I think maybe I heard that. I am certainly, I would support that. I think, before the plan is approved, even if we don't vote on it, I think it is important to just, hear what other staff that have not been involved in these meetings, either this one or the review group, have to say. Maybe they see something we're not seeing. So if there's a way to do it, I would appreciate having their feedback as well.
We can make that work.
Yeah, I saw it as a natural way to align with that word transparent in your value statement. And so everybody knows what's happening. And okay, well, Mr. Chair, we're at 12 o'clock.
Thanks, Mark, once again for leading us through this process, and we're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.